standard first language English class. As I told you in the beginning, this is the second lesson of your English textbook. The lesson name is The Boy Who Sold Wisdom. So now I want you all to eagerly sit and listen to this story. Children, I told you this is your second lesson, The Boy Who Sold Wisdom. I know you are very much eagerly sitting now as I asked you to sit. So now you should first know what is the meaning of wisdom before going with the explanation. So what is wisdom? See children, when you were a toddler, you were not knowing how to speak, how to convey your thoughts. As days passed on, you started to know how to speak, how to ask someone for something, and how to communicate with your neighborhood, how to make friends. And when some situation comes, you will recall the situation, same situation that happened before, and then you will react accordingly, yes or no. How did all this happen? Now you are a teenager. Now to this age, you have learnt many things. How did you learn it? Through your experience. So you have gained some knowledge through your experience. So that is called as wisdom. Experience and the knowledge is called as wisdom. Miss, then the boy who sold wisdom means, is the boy selling his knowledge or is the boy selling his experience, what he has learned from his previous days? Is it so, miss? Yes, children, he is selling the same. But how can he sell, miss? Can he sell those things for money? Children, yes, here he is selling it for money. How? Is it giving him some money? Is it filling his stomach? Let's see. Okay. Now, after I told you that the boy is selling the wisdom for money, now you all are more eager. I know. Before that, the characters I have mentioned here, there is a boy named Nagendra and another boy named Babu. Babu is the son of a rich merchant called Gupta. And we have a king of that particular city. We have queens. The king has 2 queens. And then each queen has maid. So one queen has a maid. The other queen also has a maid. So we have 2 queens and 2 maids. We have a minister of that particular court where the king is ruling and a doctor. Now we'll see how they all get related in this lesson. Coming to the explanation of the lesson, The Boy Who Sold Wisdom. Here is the first paragraph given to you all in this particular slide. Let's see what it says. Nagendra was orphaned and found himself without a job. Here the boy named Nagendra had no parents and he was also not having any job. He was a very clever boy and he had learned many things by observing his father. When his father was alive, he observed him and he learnt many things from his father. One day he had a brilliant idea. Now that he didn't have any job and he has to earn for his living, so he gets a very good idea in his mind. What was it? He went into town and hired the smallest and the cheapest place he could find and set up a shop. So what he does? He had very little amount in his hand. So he went into the town and he will hire. Hire is to obtain for a temporary use of a particular shop on an agreed payment. Say, example, pay 500 rupees per month is what he might have agreed to, a small and the cheapest shop he wanted because he didn't have much amount in his hand. He spent a few nickel coins he had on paper, ink and a pen. So what he does, he was left with only few nickel coins in his hand. What is this nickel? According to Northern America, we call a nickel as 5-cent coin. 5-cent coin. Let's not dig too much our head on what this nickel is all about. Let's just assume it to be he had little coins in his hand. Those little coins he will spend on paper, ink and pen. That's all. Now he has a shop. He has a pen, he has ink and he has some papers. Over his shop, he put a placard that said wisdom for sale. So on a piece of paper, you just see children, when you all have environmental day, you go for procession. While going on a procession, you will hold a board kind of a thing or a banner kind of a thing on which the motto or a slogan of that particular day will be written and you will start reading out those words. Yes or no? You will shout out those words. In the same way, this person will have a placard written on which it was written, wisdom is for sale. All around him were merchants who had large shops. He is the one who had a small shop. All other merchants are people who are selling something. That means people who are on trade. So those people were having large shops. What were they selling in their large shops? They sold clothes, jewelry, fruits, vegetables and things that people bought every day. Every day, whatever that is necessary for people, they were selling those things. Nagendra called out all kinds of wisdom for sale, reasonable prices. So this Nagendra, after opening that shop, he had this placard written in his shop. Now he will start calling out people, saying all kind of wisdoms are for sale and it is for reasonable prices also. Now what happens? People will all crowd near his place. The people who had come to buy things could not see anything in his shop, but could only hear the words he was shouting. As you all know, it was a shop with only paper, pen and an ink. Now he didn't have anything in his shop. Those who had come to buy something couldn't see anything except he shouting standing there. They crowded around and laughed at him. Obviously, if there is nothing, he is simply shouting, they will start laughing at him. No one bought even a piece of wisdom from him. Obviously, nobody will buy, just they will stand and laugh at his words. But he was patient. He did not lose his patience. He was patient enough so that he had that kind of a patience that one day or just next moment, somebody will come asking, what exactly are you going to give? What is this wisdom all about? Somebody may come, is the hope that he had in his mind and heart. Let's see what happens next. Will anybody come? Will they buy wisdom? What happens next? Let's see. One day, Babu, a rich merchant's son, happened to pass by and heard the wisdom seller hawking his wares. Wisdom of all kinds. He was a stupid boy. He didn't know what was really being sold. He thought it was a vegetable or a thing that he could hold in his hand. So he asked Nagendra what it would cost per kg. Nagendra said, I do not sell wisdom by weight, I sell it by quality. So what happened was, Babu was the name of a merchant's son. He was passing by the street of the market and he saw Nagendra selling his wares. What is this hawking his wares means? That is selling his goods in a noisily manner in a street. So he was hawking his wares. Wares means here his articles or paper on which he had written something. The written lines he was noisily screaming in the streets. What he was telling? Wisdom of all kind is for sale. But this fellow Babu was a very stupid boy. He didn't know what is the meaning of wisdom. He thought it is some vegetable or something that he can hold in his hand and take it home. So he will come and ask Nagendra, what will the cost of 1 kg wisdom is? So Nagendra says, no, I don't sell wisdom for weight. I only sell wisdom for quality. Obviously, can knowledge be given for weight? No, it can only be in terms of quality. Third paragraph. Babu put down a nickel and asked Nagendra to give him a nickel's worth of wisdom. The boy took out a piece of paper and wrote on it, it is not wise to stand and watch two people fighting, and he asked Babu to keep it tight in his turban cloth. So Babu, what he does, he will put a nickel of coin on the table. So Nagendra will take a piece of paper and in that piece of paper he will write, it is not wise to stand when watch when two people are fighting. After writing that, he will fold that paper and he will ask Babu to tie up in a turban cloth and to take it home. What is this turban? A long dupatta kind of a thing. In Rajasthan, you can see men covering their head just like a cap. Such kind of a turban cloth in which he will ask him to tie up and take it home. Fourth para. Babu went home and showed his father what he had bought. He said, I bought some wisdom for a nickel and I have it here tied up inside the turban cloth. The father untied the knot, looked at the scrap of paper and read what was written on it. It is not wise to stand and watch two people fighting. So Babu goes home and he will tell his father that I have bought a nickel worth of wisdom and it is tied in this turban cloth. After telling that, Babu's father opens up the turban cloth and he will read there was a scrap of paper in which it was written, "It is not wise to stand and watch two people fighting." What happens to Babu's father now? Fifth para. He was furious. He screamed at his son, "You fool! Paying a nickel for this nonsense. Everyone knows you should not stand and watch two people fighting." Then he went to the marketplace and stormed into Nagendra's shop and scolded him soundly. Till here I'll explain. So he was very furious. He was in a extreme angry. So he goes to Nagendra's shop. He first screams at his son saying, "Everybody knows that you should not stand when two people are fighting. This everybody knows. You are a foolish person," he says, and he will, just like a storm, he gives enter to Nagendra's shop. Then what happened? He will very badly scold Nagendra. "You scoundrel, you have cheated my son. He is a fool and you are a cheat." He says, "He is a foolish boy and you are cheated. You have cheated him. Return the nickel or else I'll call the police." He says, "Return the nickel or else I will call the police." Nagendra said, "If you don't want my goods, you can return it. Give me back my wisdom and you can have your money back." So he says, anyways, if you don't like the goods which I have given to you, you can return it back and I'll give back the money which your son has paid me. Gupta, the merchant, threw the scrap of paper at the boy and said, "There, now give me back my money." He will return that scrap of paper in which he had written the wisdom, and he will say, "See there, I have given you the scrap of paper, now you give me the nickel of coin," he says. Nagendra said, "No, you have not given me back my wisdom. You have only returned the paper." Yes or no, children? He has only returned the paper. The wisdom he now knows that he is not supposed to go and stand and watch two people fighting. Now you have not written me the wisdom. You have just given me the paper. If you want your money back, you will have to sign a document saying that your son will never use my wisdom. So if you want a nickel back, you have to sign a document in which it is written, "My son will not use the wisdom that you have given to him, and he should go and stand, and that he will always stand and watch people fighting." And in that you also have to mention that my son will always go and watch when two people are fighting. So tricky now it is. The passers-by supported Nagendra. Everybody supported Nagendra. So Gupta readily signed the document and took his money. He was ready to sign the document. He didn't know what the consequences he might face. He just wanted to get back his nickel. He signed it. He was happy that it had been easy to undo his son's foolish bargain. See, children, you all know bargain means when you go to a shop, if the pen worth is 500 that they are selling, you feel like not giving them 500. You will start saying, "Uncle, give this pen for 450 rupees or 460 rupees. When the person is convinced, he'll give you the pen for 460 rupees. That is one type of bargain. Here the other type of bargain is nothing but an agreement between two or more people or groups as to what each will do for the other. Here the same thing happened. Nagendra was ready to give the nickel back only if Gupta, that is merchant, Babu's father is called Gupta here. So only if Gupta signs the document, he is ready to give back the nickel. This is the agreement. This is also called as one type of bargain. Let's know what happens in the 7th para. Coming to 7th paragraph. A few days passed. The king of that land had two queens who hated each other. So did their mates. They quarrelled as bitterly as their mistress. One day each queen sent her maid to the market. The mates went to the same shop and both wanted to buy the same pumpkin. There was only one pumpkin, so they began to quarrel. So few days passed. The king of that particular land had two queens. Both the queens had maid. Each mates quarrelled with each other. They didn't like each other as their queens. Queens also didn't like each other. The mates also didn't like each other. One day, queens sent these mates to market to buy something. Both went to the same shop where there was only one pumpkin. Both wanted the same pumpkin, but there was only one pumpkin. So they started to quarrel very bitterly in the street. Their abuses and gestures were so fierce that the grocer fled the place. So their abuses, they misused, they very cruelly, very violently, they started to argue with each other. And their gestures, the action of their body parts, the action of their hands and their head were so furious, were very violent. So the owner of that shop also fled away. Fled away means he moved away. Then what happened? Babu, who happened to be nearby, remembered his father's contract with Nagendra and went there to watch the quarrel. Now Babu was in the same market. He remembers the contract between his father and Nagendra. So he had to now go and see what is happening there. So he goes there. The mates fought, tore each other's hair and came to blows. So they started to quarrel in such a way that they tore each other's hair and they blow each other. One of the mates noticed the merchant's son and said, so now when this was happening, one of the maid saw Babu standing there and she will say, Babu, you be my witness. She struck me. She says, you be my witness because you saw that she struck me. The other cried saying, you have seen with your own eyes who struck whom. She says, no, you have seen with your own eyes. Who is the one who struck whom? Who is the first person to struck whom? You are my witness, she says. One say, you are my witness. The other say, you are my witness. She has hit me so many times. She says, she has hit me so many times. Then they remembered other errands and went their ways. Other errands means errand is nothing but a short journey undertaken in order to deliver or collect something. Now they had come there to purchase something, especially for their queens. So they remembered all that and they moved away. Keeping this fellow in their mind as a witness, they moved away. The two mates went to their queens and told them about the quarrel, adding all sorts of colorful details. They go back to the court and they will complain to the queen saying what all that happened, and also they added some more colorful details. The queens were now furious and sent complaints to the king. Now they became very angry and they will complain to the king. Each of them sent word to Babu that he was the witness on her side. Now each queen will send for Babu. Babu will come and Babu says, Babu is supposed to be the witness for both of them. If he didn't speak in support of her, she would have his head chopped off. So one queen says, if you don't be a witness on my side, then your head will be chopped. The other queen says the same thing. Now Babu was in a panic. He was completely tensed. When his father heard of this, he goes and tell about this to his father. He too was in panic. He too was completely tensed. Finally, the son said, let's go and ask Nagendra. He has wisdom to sell. So Babu says, let's go and talk to Nagendra about this. He has wisdom to sell. Let's see what he has to say to get me out of this trap. Let me see what he says to get me out of this particular situation. So father and son went to Nagendra, who said he would help, but the fee would be 500 rupees. He said, let me help you. No problem, I'll help you. But my fees is 500 rupees. So what happens then? Gupta paid him the money and Nagendra said, Gupta, that is father of Babu, will pay the money. And Nagendra says, when they call you to court, pretend to be insane. When they call you to court, insane means seriously you have some mental ill. Behave as if you really pretend, that is, act as if you are mentally ill. Behave as if you understand nothing of what they say. As if whatever they ask you, you make sure you pretend in such a way that you didn't understand anything. Next day, the king called the witness. He and his minister asked Babu various questions. King called this person Babu to the court, and the minister and the king started to ask various questions, but he wouldn't answer any of them. He didn't answer. As Nagendra had told him to behave as if he is not understanding anything, he also pretended. He merrily babbled and uttered nonsensical syllable till the king lost his patience and drove him out of the courtroom. So nonsensical syllable means which cannot be understood. Just like ba, something like that you can imagine. He was just uttering some nonsensical syllable, and the king was so angry on him, he was pissed off and he threw him out of the courtroom. Babu was delighted by the success of the ruse. He was so happy that he got success by the trick that he played. Ruse means trick that he played. He told everyone about Nagendra's great wisdom, which soon became a buzzword in the marketplace. So after he was very much delighted by the success that he got from the trick that he played, he went to the marketplace and he said everyone about this, and Nagendra's wisdom was a mouth-to-mouth talk to everyone in the market. Coming to the 10th paragraph, now Gupta was not pleased. He saw that his son would have to feign madness always, or else the king would find out he had been tricked. He would certainly chop off his son's head if he found out. So back they went to Nagendra for more wisdom. For another 500 rupees, Nagendra advised them, go back to king when he is in a good mood and tell him the old story. He will find it amusing and will forgive you. But make sure he is in a good mood of laughter. And so Babu followed the advice, found the king in a merry mood and told him the story. The king laughed a lot and forgave him. So what happened? Gupta was in a great tension now. Now my son has pretended to be insane in front of the king. If the king gets to know that we have played a trick with him, he will surely chop my son's head. If he wouldn't have accepted to be a witness to the queens would have chopped my son. So what to do now? For lifelong, my son has to pretend as if he is insane. So now, the only way for them was to go to Nagendra once again. Nagendra asked him for 500 rupees. Gupta will pay 500 rupees. And now Nagendra gives another wisdom saying that you go to the king when he is in a very good mood of laughter. Tell him the complete story. He feels very amusing and he will forgive you. But make sure he is in a good mood of laughter, he says. So Babu and Gupta will follow his advice and goes to the king when he is in a good mood of laughter, and they will accept accept everything, and he will like the story and he will forgive them. After that, what happened? Then the king, who was intrigued by what he had heard of Nagendra in the market, sent for him and asked if he had any more wisdom to sell. The boy said, of course, I have plenty to sell, especially to a king, but my fees would be 100,000 rupees. The king paid him the 100,000, and the boy gave him a piece of paper on which he had written, think deeply before you do anything. So then what happened? The king, who was intrigued is nothing but arose the curiosity of interest of or fascinated. The king was very much curious now. He had heard about him. Now he was also fascinated to know who he is. He had heard about Nagendra in the market. So he sent for his ministers and others to know who he is, and also ask him if he has any wisdom to sell for me. Then Nagendra says, yes, of course, I have wisdom to sell for king. And he also says, especially for a king, I have wisdom to sell. But my cost is costly. What is the cost? He says, 1,00,000 rupee. That is 100,000 rupees is the cost of one wisdom that I am going to give for king. King accepts it. He will give the money and he will ask him to give the wisdom. What was that wisdom? In a sheet of paper, in a piece of paper, he will write, think deeply before you do anything. Then the king was so delighted with the advice that he made it his motto. He had it embroidered on his pillows and engraved on his cups and plates so that he would not forget it. So what did king do? He was so happy after getting the wisdom from Nagendra. He takes it to be his motto and he will embroider this wisdom saying, think deeply before you do anything on the pillows, and he will engrave. Engrave is nothing but cut or carve on a surface which is very hard. On all cups, plates, everywhere, he will engrave this particular lines so that he will not forget it. Then some months later, after few months, the king fell ill. The king fell completely ill. The minister and one of the queens had been conspiring to get rid of him. So they wanted to get rid of the king. Who wanted to get rid? The minister and one of the queen, not both of them, one of the queen. So they bribed the doctor. They will bribe the doctor means they will go and doctor. They will go and ask the doctor to be in their part, to be at their ease always by giving him some money. Okay, in that way they will go and ask for the doctor to be there in their way always, and they will pay him for some amount and persuaded him to poison the king's medicine. They asked him to poison the king's medicine. They convinced him to do this. And then when the medicine was brought to the king, and he lifted the golden cup to his lips. He read the words engraved on it. Think deeply before you do anything. Without suspecting anything, he thought about the words, lowered the cup, and looked at the medicine in it. What happened? The king was given in a cup of glass, in a cup, the king was given medicine to drink. But the king, once he lifted the cup up, he could read, think deeply before you do anything was carved on it. When he read those lines, he didn't suspect anything. He just thought of it. He just gave some time to think about it. That's all. He didn't suspect anything. He don't know what has really happened behind. But what happened here was, the doctor who was watching all this felt nervous. He did the guilt there. He is the one who has done something wrong there. So his guilty consciousness will always alarm to him. See, you have done something. That is why the king is seeing it very deeply. He is looking at the medicine, means he came to know about whatever that you have done is what running in his mind. His guilty conscience made him believe that the king had guessed that his medicine had been poisoned. He started to feel that the king has already guessed that the medicine is poisoned. While the king was thinking, the doctor threw himself to his feet and confessed to everything and prayed to be forgiven. He is just thinking, he has nothing in his mind that the medicine is poison. But the guilty conscience that is in the doctor made him accept his fault, and he will fall to his knees and he will tell the complete story and he will ask him to forgive. But the king ordered that the doctor must be arrested. The king orders everyone that the doctor must be arrested. Then he sent for minister and the queen and insisted that they drink the poison in his cup. When the doctor fell on king's foot and he accepted and he told the story, he also told the story about who made him do this. So the king came to know that the minister and one of the queen is doing this. So he will ask the minister and the queen to drink the cup of poison that is there. They too fell on his feet and begged for mercy. They will ask him to forgive them. He ordered them to be hanged, and he banished the doctor from his kingdom. He ordered them to be hanged, the queen and the minister to be hanged, and he will banish, that is to send somebody out of the country as a punishment. He will completely punish him, throwing him out of that particular country or his court or his place where he is ruling. And he made Nagendra his minister and ordered him with wealth, with all the luxury. He gave all the luxury to Nagendra that he was desiring, and he made Nagendra as his minister. I hope you all understood the lesson, and it was a very good story. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I hope you also enjoyed it thoroughly. Coming to the assignments, glossary, answer in a sentence each, and reference to context is given. The meanings were already given to the right of every slide. I want you to put them here and go through the meanings every day. Answer in a sentence each. They are very small. You can write them. It is easy. Reference to context. This particular line, think deeply before you do anything. To whom was it asked to think deeply, and who gave that piece of wisdom, and why did he give him, and how did that particular wisdom help the receiver? You are supposed to write them in your own words. Thank you, children. Go through the lessons thoroughly. I hope you all understood it. Stay healthy, stay safe, and keep learning.